In this video, we're going to take a look at material handling or material sizing. Right now, we're looking at a job that has a total of 3 sheets. 2 of the sheets are of 3/4 inch plywood. One of the sheets is a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood. We're able to see this in the across the top of our nested sheet, the one that says 0.75 plywood. Use the slider bar to scroll across. We can see also 3/4 inch plywood. The last sheet is 1/2 inch plywood. We are nested out on 4x8 sheets, and we could change this by going into Tools, then Settings. The plywood name or the name is only if the imported file does not have a name associated with it along with the material thickness. But what is used on an imported sheet is the X and Y value of the material. So if we are X 96 inches and we are cutting material that is 60 inches, we could just change that there in the Y. We will close, then nest our sheets again. And we will now see that we have 3/4 inch material that is 60 inches wide and a 1/2 inch material that is 60 inches wide. It may be the case that we have 3/4 inch plywood that is 60 inches wide and 4x8 sheets for the 1/2 inch plywood. We're able to utilize and change the sizing or have a material database, sort of say. And we're going to take a look at that right now. And before we get into the settings and see that, I am going to look at clicking on just one of these parts. And on the part info, we see the material is 0.75 plywood. I'm going to highlight that, right click and select copy. I could have also did a Control C, and I'm just using that so I make sure I get the spelling, the correct number of spaces, and everything about that wording is going to be the same for our next step. So going into Tools, then Settings, we have a material list. For the material name, currently there is nothing in the drop-down, but for the material name, I'm going to do a Control V, which is going to paste that wording in exactly as it is listed on the part info. I'm going to enter in the quantity. How many of our 4x8 sheets do we have that are 3/4, not 60? So I am going to just put a large number in here, is 100 sheets in every time we come in for doing 3/4 inch plywood. I wanted to use 4x8 and not 96 by 60. So we'll enter in the X of 96, the Y of 48. I'm going to give it a priority of 0 and then add. That adds it to our list here, and I will click Save. We'll see what this priority does in just a few minutes. So we will now close the settings and renest. We now have our 3/4 inch plywood on 4x8 sheets, and our 1/2 inch plywood is still using the default size. Now let's take a look at adding to that list and what that priority setting is for. So going back into Tools, Settings, selecting the material list. This time we should have our material already listed, and we have our 100 sheets of material 4x8 that we've entered in previously. I'm going to change this priority from a 0 to a 1, and we're going to enter in, say we have a sheet left over from our previous job that have a quantity of 1 that is 48 by 48, and I'm going to put that at priority 2 or priority 0. Add that to the list. We'll save this job, close our materials, and close the settings, and come back in and renest. The priority is the lower number priority sheet is the sheet that is going to get used first. So as we see on our first nested sheet is our 4x4 sheet that we've entered in as scrap, And then our next sheets are our 96 by 48. Since we are a partial sheet on the first sheet, it takes a total of 3 sheets for the 3/4 inch material. This is one of the reasons, just a little tip, why I don't think it is worth saving and utilizing scrap, because it just now created another piece of scrap that we used here rather than just using 2 pieces of 4x8. It's going to take a total of 3 sheets to cut this by utilizing that scrap, taking a little bit longer. And again, we are back on our 9660. And we could just see how that priority works again by coming back into the material list, selecting our job. I'm going to say we have 2 sheets of 48 by 30. I'm going to put in a priority of 0 for this. I'm going to change my priorities around here as well. So we should be using the 4830 first, the 4848, then the 96. Saving that, coming back into our tools and re-nesting. We are now on our 30 by 30 or 48 by 30. Takes a couple sheets of that onto a 4848, and then onto our 3/4 inch material, and then finally our 1/2 inch material. We could also change the size and add some, utilizing some waste for our plywood here as well, or our 1/2 inch plywood. So selecting that, getting our 1/2 inch plywood here, going to do a Control C to copy that name, come into Tools, Settings, Material List, Control V to paste that name in here, and we are going to enter in a quantity of 2 that is 48, and I'm going to make that a higher priority by putting a low number, adding that to the material, then clicking Save. Now what that has done is given us 2 materials in our drop-down box. We have our 3/4 inch plywood and our 1/2 inch plywood. Coming into Renest, we can now see that our 1/4 inch material, or 1/2 inch material, sorry, 1/2 inch material takes 2 sheets for the 2 back, and it utilized the waste material or the sizing that we've entered into our material list. If we want to remove some of the material, or if we do not want to use our 1/2 inch material, we could either come in and double click and change the sizing in here, remembering to click Save, or if we no longer want this material in the list, just selecting Delete removes that from the list, and it is now not in our list anymore. Only our 3/4 inch plywood is there, and that is it. Hopefully that was useful. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email, leave a comment. Have a good day.